Welcome to a place where football has been played for more than a century and a half. We're at the home of Hallam FC in Sheffield and the oldest football ground in the world. And I'm joined by Steve Basford, who's the co-chairman of Hallam Football Club. Steve, I know you've been involved here for some 6 years now. Just how, I mean, that's such a tiny amount of time, isn't it, compared with the history of this place?
Yes, it is, but a great honour. I came here 5.5 years ago, asked to come and help out coaching with the youngsters, which I did, and then I became, we created a title called Football Liaison Officer, which I did, and through the background I had at Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United's Academy, formed links there. I will also have a link with Chesterfield now. And part of what I did as well at that time was to set up coaching at Sheffield University again, which I'd done some 20 years ago. So we now do that again as well. We're now in a nice modern clubhouse here at Hallam FC, and looking around here you'd hardly suspect you were in the oldest football ground in the world, in continuous use since 1860. Yeah. Right through the two World Wars, and we have some fantastic memorabilia, some wonderful photographs down in the other cabins and up here as well, which I think you're going to have a look at later. Some very unusual photographs. One in particular that I always like to show people down there is the season 1912-13, which we have the waiter from the pub across the road and all the football team here on the ground, the same walls, it's obviously the same pitch. And I often look at that and think how many of those young men went off to the First World War and never came back, which would be an amazing story if we could find out. But yeah, it's basically just you know, your stewardship for the short length of time. You know, we've got people that have been here a lot longer. I think you're going to have a chat with one of those in a little bit. But yeah, you really have to be here, you know, alone and walk round, and you can almost hear the voices and, you know, see the ghostly players running around, and it is an incredibly atmospheric place, especially when it's empty, strangely enough.
You're the second person who said that to me, because Ryan Hindley, your team manager, said exactly the same thing to me recently, that he often comes here alone, he has to, because of work, etc. And he can just feel that history. Yeah,
you can, and we took 2 or 3 years ago, we had a sponsor, strangely enough, a company from Dallas who had a link in Sheffield, and the guy came over to have a look round, and he stood in the middle of the pitch, and so he said, "So this is the oldest soccer ground in the world?" And I said, "No, this is the oldest football ground in the world, but I'll let you off this time." And he felt it, and he said, "This is incredible." And he said, "But you know what, if this was in Dallas, there would be a visitor centre and parking and, you know, all the rest of it." And I said, "Well, you know, we do what we can to put it out there. Lots of people don't know about it. You know, I think we've moved on quite a lot in the last few years, but yeah, it is an incredible place."
It seems to be taken for granted in Sheffield, to the extent that people just aren't interested. I suppose if you lived opposite the Eiffel Tower, you wouldn't even give it a second look. It's that kind of thing, isn't it?
No. And I think one of the main things that we're trying to do now is to make it obviously more well known, and also to make it a community hub. You know, we've very fortunately had a legacy left to us by a chap called Roger Bell that allowed us to develop the ground. We now have obviously the FA Charter Standard, which Kevin, our secretary, looks after for us, and part of that is to try and make the club a community hub as well. So the ladies from the WRBS had their 100th anniversary last year here. It was a fantastic day. We've had, just in the last couple of years since I've been vice chairman and co-chairman, the Discovery Channel. We've had National Geographic, the Spirit of Football film team, the BBC, Radio Sheffield Live, and now you guys.
Antiques Roadshow, I think.
Antiques Roadshow, yeah, that was right. Yeah, we took the Uden Cup, or Phil, our historian, took the Uden Cup there.
This is the oldest trophy
the oldest trophy in the world,
That's 1860.
I think it was slightly after, so 1867, I think, So put up by Thomas Uden, which was a local theatre owner. And incredibly, when it was on the Antiques Roadshow, the descendants of Thomas Uden saw the programme, got in touch with the BBC, and they came up at Christmas A chap called Glyn Uden, who was the great nephew of Thomas Uden, his wife, son and daughter, and they spent the day with us. The BBC filmed them, and to put the two generations back together again was amazing. Wonderful people, had a lovely day, and obviously we got the valuation, which was rather a shock.
Come on.
The sort of 2008, I think, was the last valuation, and the trophy, which is a claret jug, was valued at that time at around £20,000.
Right.
At the new valuation, obviously the chap doing the valuation said that obviously realised the historic, value of it as well, and said a minimum of £100,000,
Right.
and possibly more. So fantastic for us to know that we've got that there.
What an asset, and
Yes.
maybe you've got that as a surety.
Yes.
You've always got a Hallam FC, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean
It's going to be worth £1 million one day, isn't it? Maybe not too far away.
Considering that the footballers, these days perhaps earn a couple £100,000 a week, you only want a couple of them that want it on the mantelpiece, and who knows where it could go. But
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't go there.
no. I mean we want to
it's
keep
available
it
to everybody. In a
we want to
museum
keep
or
it
whatever.
here, definitely. Yeah, I mean it's part of the Guinness World Record, oldest club, oldest derby, and obviously the oldest trophy. Yeah, so yeah, you are sat in the home of football. We feel.
Yeah, you can feel it,
Yeah.
but also you may not crow about this as loudly, but cricket predates football on this very ground.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the story is that the pub across the road owned the field, which at certain times obviously had sheep on and stuff. So the guys wanted to start cricket. I think it was 1837, I think. And they went and said, could we prepare a pitch, which they did. That went on for quite a few years, and then obviously the stirrings of football started, and they'd heard about it and said, could we possibly have a go at playing the new game, football, which they did in 1860, and basically some local men of Sandygate played Fullwood, and it wouldn't be particularly an 11-a-side sort of carry on, that was much later. And you had the history of the oval pitch with the rouges and different goals and everything.
The old rules, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you had a game actually quite recently here.
We did.
In the old rules, and Uriah Rennie
We did,
refereed it.
yeah.
I actually thought it was quite exciting.
Yeah, then the kids love it.
Yeah.
The kids loved it. Boys and girls both playing, and we put them all up on the old kit and everything. Yeah. But they really enjoyed the game, how it was played, because you were allowed to catch the ball then and run with it, kick it out your hands.
No heading, was there?
No, you weren't allowed to kick it directly into the goal. But I mean, some of the old reports of the time and some of the newspaper reports, which we've got, I mean, a very typical formation at the time was obviously the goalkeeper, 2-2-6. That was the formation. 2-2-6.
Very,
so
very
the
attacking.
six guys at the front would kick off, and those six would battle the other front six. I don't think it was much like football, to be fair. I think it was a bit tribal. And they would go around sort of trying to get the ball to the other end. So the guys at the back were there just in case. And it was considered ungentlemanly to pass the ball, or cowardly, because you were trying to get rid of it, and that was not looked on very favourably. So, but yeah, I think it was a bit of a war rather than anything else, and developed from there, obviously. Yeah.
Sounds it. And it's still a very tribal game as we speak
today.
Yeah,
thank goodness. Yeah.
Steve, thanks very much indeed.
No problem. Welcome.